Hey everybody. I just wanted to check in real quick. By the grace of God, I was able to get over to pay my respects to my buddy. He's officially on my #1 list of quality versus quantity experience in a relationship. And I can't express enough what of an impact he had on the small period of time that I was part of his life and he was part of mine. I must confess, I have never been to a Muslim service before, so it was very different than I expected. Good morning, China. How are you today? I was just sharing that I ran out first thing this morning and went over to the service for our buddy Al, and to pay my respects. So the services are very different than the traditional services that I've been to. So I had written something in honor of my buddy, to kind of convey my experiences with him in our short-lived time together. Again, I must emphasize, I met Al through our community talk radio. I met him when Ian and I were having a conference call with him on the phone, and talking about a host of different subjects, because we're trying to save the world, right? Or at least trying to help people have an awakening of sorts about what's important to save the world. So, and this is going back over a year now, or about a year. But the point is that Al and I remained friends through the radio station, staunch supporters of one another and everybody on the station, and through the live feed. And that's okay, China. It was fast. It was like literally 15 minutes. It was literally 15, 20 minutes. But anyway, I'm fast forwarding to say that it was about 5 months ago, 6 months ago, that we engaged in a conversation when I started doing these live feeds. And he reached out and said, hey, Sharice, I just want to say I'm happy for you. I'm proud of what you're doing. Keep up the good work. And the rest is history. We became friends. Like, it was almost, I was trying to describe to his children today, like if you have a childhood friend that like in the purest form, and you can you don't have to put on any airs, you don't have to be anything but who you are. You can just relax and joke and talk and let your guard down. That was the relationship that Al and I formed, and so it was protective. Almost like a brother-sister kind of dynamic. We were very protective of one another. We were very open-minded to one another. We were very engaging with one another. We shared honestly with one another, and we laughed. We just joked, and it was all a phone relationship. But so that said, I wrote a poem that I wanted to read that kind of conveyed all of it. I sit in prayer and silence, and I asked my heavenly friends, and I asked Al, okay, how can I say or express what we were? So here goes. Bear with me, because it's a wing and a prayer here. Hey, I'm just talking about how, had it not been for you, I would have never met Al. So anyway, I called the poem "We Talked." We talked. In a low voice of thunder, my friend would say, hey, I didn't want nothing, just calling to check in. Are you good today? So we talked about our people days. We laughed and we joked about the good old days. Was it commitment to family, our common ground, or simply that our life lessons were eerily profound? Addiction, betrayal, a mother and his son, sometimes the thug life, and those lost to a gun. We talked about breakups and makeups and surviving it all, how the sins caused the sinners to eventually fall. We laughed about the importance of keeping it real, and he'd chuckle and say, "Sharice, you know the deal." We spoke about heaven and the angels on earth. We talked about our people knowing their worth. Whew. Protecting the children, parenting our young, our history is repeating when our boys are being hung. We joked about his postings that I could not make no sense. I said, "What you talking about, Willis? You just too intense." He'd laugh, say, "You're funny." "I'm not laughing at you. I just like how you speak and do what you do." He spoke of protection, provision, and holding it down, building ourselves up, our black and our brown. He was bullied to fight and to lead the street. How life lessons learned, he found his own beat. My kindred connection, unconditional friend, I had no idea that this would soon end. I know without question you were a gift from above. And if I were asked, I was nothing but love. For my friend and companion, a warrior of light, his message to you, don't give up the fight. He'd say, lay down your weapons and raise your activist fists. Life is a riddle that we've got to untwist. He'd say, let go of them demons and honor Allah. He would say, not to worry. I ain't gonna go too far. To Al Montgomery, my heart is amiss. Good night to my brother with a hug and a kiss. And to that, I can only say this. He was the wisest, simply complex person that I met. Simple in his words, but complex in his thought. And he had wisdom, and he had life experience, and he had hard knocks, and he had survived challenges and struggles and tribulations. And in all of that, he remained at his core a good human being. And he found the need to reach out to me. He found the need to be a support to me. He found the need to be a friend to me and allow me to be a friend to him. And I honor and treasure that about Al Montgomery. And I cannot emphasize enough the heartfelt pain that I'm feeling right now, knowing that I will not have him in the physical world anymore. But I can say that I feel his spirit. I felt it strong. I felt it in the room today at the mosque. I felt it when I was writing this poem. And if there's anything that I can take away from Al, it's that that's what makes us. That's what makes us human. Our vulnerabilities, our honesty, our truth, our integrity, our courage, and our ability to let down our guards. So to Al, I love you, and I thank you for being a part of my life for the short time that you were. And, you know, for everybody in our community talk, Sylvia, Shina, I had the honor of meeting his children today. They are watching in, they are listening in, they are emotional, but they are appreciative. I believe they're appreciative of what their father connected them to. And they've definitely appreciated our community talk representation. And their love is present. Their father's love is present through them. So in that regard, special man, truly a special man. I can't explain it like I just can't explain it other than that he just impacted me in a really powerful way. That said, I do not want to dishonor Al by not continuing to be purpose-filled and not continuing to be part of the solutions and not continuing to be part of what he supported me with every time I showed up on here. So I'm going to quickly sum up a couple of things that I wrote. This is going to be a quick one because my mom just had some dental surgery and I want to go check on her real quick before I get into the city today. I did want to say this. I'm doing some homework about original man and our original place and what he. It's funny because we couldn't. I'm finding that I'm connecting to people that are inexplicable. I'm finding that I'm connecting to relationships that are divinely ordered. I call them divinely ordered. So as to that, I'm calling for answers. So I'm doing a lot of homework and a lot of research and trying to understand the unknown realm, the spiritual realm, the universal realm, divinity, deities, entities, etc., from the standpoint of where we came from, our source. And one thing I did learn that I appreciate and I'm more curious about, there was an elder in South Africa that was being interviewed, and he was being asked many questions about original man and original people and the original Africans. And one of the things he spoke of, which is not the first time I've heard about it, is the Dogon people, and he spoke about what he calls the star people. And the powers of the star people and the powers of these gods and goddesses and how they came and kind of represented heaven and earth and voice and water and universal energy. So to that, I'm saying this: we all have that in us. We are all innately connected to it. Not only are we connected to the Creator. Anun, I believe he called Anun was the first, but we're in being connected to source, we have an ability to listen and learn and hear things that aren't in the physical realm, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to get off on some tangent because I don't want to. I believe that everybody has their own practice and their own way of finding themselves in the bigger scheme of things. I just want to say this: try to tap into that inner voice. Try to tap into source, Mother Earth. Try to tap into the mountains, water space. Listen to, allow your voice. Al had that kind of raspy, rumbly, thunder-like voice. Listen to the voice. How is your voice coming out? What is it saying, and what is it holding back? What does it need to express? There's a lot of relevance, whether you're studying something from the past or you're looking at it from a current day standpoint. The only way we're going to make some shifts in this planet, shifts in our energy as human beings, shifts as star people from a greater source, and connect to the best part of ourselves, is to start to just get quiet and listen. Listen. That would be my advice. There was a lesson in Al and I listening to one another. We found our relationship and how we would support each other and help manifest the best in each other by listening to what that friendship had to offer. And that goes to whether it be a one-on-one friendship, or it be your connection to your community, or it be your connection to your state, or your country, and your countrymen or women for that matter, your culture, your people. So I went off on a tangent, but I did want to just clarify where my head is at in terms of trying to understand how these connections come about, that they are purpose-filled, there are no accidents in the universe, and he's made me a better person having known him, and he has been, as I said, a #1 staunch supporter and ally to me, and I will take that with me to my grave. I just wish I had more time with him. So the other thing I wanted to address, which I don't want to spend a lot of time on. Betsy DeVos is, as usual, up to her shenanigans. And Betsy DeVos, as you know, is the Secretary of Education, and she has continued to malign our educational system and really tear it to pieces and shred it up. Now, I have never been a strong advocate of charter schools. Now, let me clarify. I'm not opposed to education, any education that's going to work. What my position has always been from the beginning of the time is, why are we pouring multitudes of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars into and another educational system when we have a public educational system that just needs that money to be fixed? So, and again, if I transition too far quickly, I apologize, but I'm trying to rush through this as quickly as possible. So, for me, the thing about what's going on is that you guys need to understand. You need to understand, as people who are paying tax dollars into your public school system, your dollars are being shifted into the private sector. Charter schools are relatively public-private, meaning when I say public-private, it means federal monies are going into these other entities, but there's no accountability in the same fashion that there is to public school systems. When I say no accountability, they don't have the same guidelines in terms of special education needs. They don't have the same guidelines in terms of the employee needs, in terms of teachers. They are not unionized. They can define their own parameters on what they, with the exception of some main common areas, they beat to their own drum. And people come forward and say, yeah, I want to start a cyber school, and I need a grant for XYZ number of dollars, and the accountability isn't there. So I wanted you guys to understand the numbers just briefly, and then I really do have to go because I do want to check on my mom. There was a, I hope I can find it. I'll put it in the back here, I think. Okay, here we go. So she right now, just for clarity purposes, I just want you to know this. I went to charterschools.org just to understand what they're doing on their end, because of course they're all advocates. And again, I'm not opposed to good schooling. What I'm opposed to is why are we not investing in our public educational system? So charter schools approximately right now is about 7,000 nationwide. There are about 3.2 million children in our charter school system. There is about $440 million that's going into the charter school system, according to charterschools.org. There are 219 teachers that are currently being employed that are affiliates of union. Only 219. Keep that in mind. Only 219. Why am I saying that? Because unions protect the employees. Unions ensure that you get fair pay, you get fair hours, you get fair treatment. Unions ensure that you have long-term benefits, health care, retirement plans, and all these other things, right? Now, so if you have a quasi-private school system, then you no longer have to concern yourself with where that money is going as it relates to the staff. You just spend it the way you see fit within the confines of that brick and mortar or that cyber education. So what I wanted to be also clear about is that, yes, there's an influx in cyber charter schools, and they have even less accountability. So someone comes forward and says, oh, I need, I think they were saying the cost range anywhere from $7,500 to $40,000 when it comes to supporting special ed students. Yes, I want to support this particular population, and I'm going to do cyber education, but there, again, are not clear guidelines, clear outlines as to what that criteria means. As you already know, I haven't mentioned in the past, DeVos did a very good job of stripping the special education programs, of stripping the guidelines, of dismantling a lot of what was intended to support children, at-risk populations, with children classified with special needs of any kind, that be physical, psychological, emotional, across the board, academic, any learning disabilities. She's been chipping away at that for some time and cutting budgets tremendously across the board. But charter schools can ask for anywhere from $75,000 to $40,000 a student with no real accountability. Then you have to take into consideration that with charter schools, you have the loss of teacher employment. So the budgets get cut substantially. The money that would normally be going to the public school education now is being transferred to the charter school system. I personally was affiliated with Newark at the time that Cammie decided she was going to come in and help crazy man Christie run amok and literally strip up the Newark Public school system. I mean, they tore it to pieces. They had children that had a school at an elementary school right around the corner, and they had them being bused to the other side of town, and then busing them to the other side of town. They'd have parents out at 6 o'clock in the morning standing on a corner when all they should have been had to do was walk around the corner to go to school in the morning. But it was a disruption of the school system. And what is more disheartening is that the charter school system experimented and infiltrated urban neighborhoods. So they really dismantled and created mayhem and chaos to the families in poor neighborhoods. In some instances, parents didn't even have the money to pay to have their children, because the school busing systems were also cut in some instances, and parents didn't even have the money to pay for their children to get on a public school bus to go across town to get their education. So it was an attack financially, it was an attack emotionally, it was an attack psychologically, it was an attack on the community in general. And then if you have families who are feeling vulnerable, feeling unsafe for their children, and or feeling as though they're not going to get the best education anymore, because I think they said approximately 5 to 7, this is just one set of numbers I found, but I'm sure it's higher now, $500 to $700 per student is being cut. $500 to $700 coming from someone who used to sell educational books, okay, and someone who used to be entrenched in getting into schools when their budgets were already maxed out in terms of what they had to do with children, especially in urban neighborhoods. To take $500 to $700 away from a child means you're cutting things like books, you're cutting things like school supplies, you're cutting things like the extra staff that's needed to support children in the classroom and setting, so that they can be in the least restrictive environment. You are cutting, you're cutting the arts programs, you're cutting the extra special, the civics programs, the handwriting programs, the art programs, the after school programs, the food programs, okay? So for everybody who's on the charter school cheerleading bandwagon, I want you guys to think very long, very hard, and very carefully about what that means for your public school system in your neighborhood. Because look at it this way, all right? You have one school that's doing all of this, and now and again, communities vary across the country, and I know that. You have one school that's getting all this extra money, getting all this extra time, getting all this extra investment. There's a small percentage of children, a very small chunk, that get accepted into the school through a lottery system for the most part. In some occasions based on their academic skills or their artistic abilities or what have you. So they get into the school, and then you have the public school system that's having all its money cut. Now I want you to imagine those children, no gym. I want you to imagine those children, no backup teachers. I want you to imagine those children, no sports program. I want you to imagine those children, no counselor, no nurse, no school psychologist, all because the budgets have been cut. There are consequences, people, when we sit back and blindly accept the role of, yes, they're making the decisions for us. Yes, we will accept whatever it is they tell us to accept. Yes, we'll invest in whatever they tell us to invest, because after all, don't we all want better schools for our children? Well, yes, but we want better schools for all our children, not just a small percentage of our children. Not to mention, we want to invest in our teachers because they are the people who are investing into the people who will eventually run this country. So why would you not want to invest in the human beings that bust their ass, show up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be there for your little human beings that are going to evolve into young adults, and those young adults are eventually going to be making decisions about your well-being in this country and in this society. So again, I always ask everybody to have critical thinking and not just look at the dollars and cents of the situation. First of all, the dollars and cents of it don't add up. Because if we're spending more money on a few children and then we're not spending equal amounts of money on all children, there is a problem. That's number one, a major problem. Number two, if you're willing to invest on just a few, then you're creating a caste system of sorts. You know, as I said before. Number three, would your tax dollars or the tax dollars support a school, an educational system? In the best of communities who could pride themselves on having quote unquote nice neighborhoods with, you know, clean yards and clean roads and good policing system and all the other stuff, okay, you pull that money out and you start to pull away from the educational system, the value of your property goes down. When the value of your property goes down, people don't want to move into that neighborhood. When people don't want to move into that neighborhood, then you no longer have money to invest in higher taxes and higher costs to keep your neighborhood a certain way, and then the safety changes, okay? And then all these dynamics shift as it relates to if you're not investing in your children, and if you're not investing in your schools, then you're no longer investing in your community, and if you're not investing in community, then you're not investing in the long term. We are responsible for doing that in every community in America. We shouldn't be cherry picking which communities we're going to invest in and which ones we're not. Every child deserves to be invested in. Every child deserves an equal opportunity. It's an inalienable right to be educated in this country, and it's educated to the best of their ability. Betsy DeVos, since the beginning of the time that she stepped in, and I specifically remember the interview when they were interviewing this woman, and she sat right there and said, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and I don't know for every question that she was asked. And she was passed through just like all the rest of these son of a bitches that have been passed through since Trump has been in office. There's no government right now, right? So no matter what, the good old boys are sticking together, and they don't care what kind of corruption goes down and how much they're disrupting our established programming and our established systems right now. And they were flawed to begin with, but now they're really creating mayhem and chaos. So that said, I just want to clarify again, just in cyber education alone, between $75,000 and $40,000 is being spent per student. There's approximately 3.1 million teachers in the United States of America right now today who have been in the public school system and have been protected under the union. According to reports that I found, you only have approximately 219, I think it was 219,000 teachers out of the 3.1 million who are currently getting jobs in the charter school system. And those teachers are not guaranteed to be participating in a union. They're losing their union benefits. They're losing their medical benefits or the benefits that they may have gotten. Or they're young people that are coming out of school and they're opting out just to get a job. So they're settling for lower wages, longer hours, and whatever it is that the charter school deems them worthy of. Again, 6 to 8%, districts are losing approximately 6 to 8% of their income at this moment because of charter school systems. And again, my position is, if you're going to do something new, you're going to make sure that you're doing the same thing with the old that you're doing with the new. Okay, that's my position. That's my 16-year-old, by the way, that I'm taking care of my friend while she's recovering in the hospital. And also helping me at the gym because he's in good shape. And let's see, what else did I want to throw at you? Oh, she just got shut down because she wants to add another $1 billion or so to charter schools. with no accountability. And they just realized that there's approximately a third, and it's in the article, I think, one third. Hold on one second, baby. There's one third of the monies that have been, hi daughter, one third of the $4.1 billion that's been invested so far in charter school education. One third of that money is questionable. There's no accountability for it. There's no explanation as to where it's going and what it's doing. Okay, when I say one third of $4.1 billion, I want you guys to think about that. That's your money. That's your tax dollars. That's your cash flow that you're paying for your roads and your bridges and your educational school systems. Your educational school system, your public school system that your children may not have been gotten into or may not be into, or your job as an educator that once was protected is now affected by one third of $4.1 billion that is not accountable for. So now there's a full-blown investigation as to where's this money going. I'll tell you where the money's going. The money's going to the good old boys club. The money's going to the rich. The money's going to the private BS investors who are trying to control the 49% of the wealth in this country and add it to 50, 51, 52, 53 and just keep pushing us down lower and lower and lower and lower and giving us less, 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 whether it be, as I've said, less in terms of educational benefits for our children, less in terms of what the supports are to our overall communities, social, emotional, psychological, physical, health, well-being, food, economics, public safety, less, 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 and less. Okay? So I'm asking you guys, because I'm going to focus on this as the primary reason I get on. When you're looking at your candidates, when you're deciding who's going to be the best for this job, and you should be thinking about it now, just like I was speaking before about who stands on what position as it relates to the current laws of this land and the policing system and the immigration and ICE. I want you to also ask yourselves questions. Are you thinking about how monies are being spent in your educational system in your community? How is it being invested? Who's standing behind it? Where is the money pouring into? Do they support charter schools? Do they support public schools? If they support charter schools and they support public schools, how much? Or do they feel that there should be an equal balance in both? What's their position on unions? What's their position on education? What's their position on teachers? What's their position on the long haul of Social Security? What's their position of 401ks and IRAs? What's their position on all that? Because that's the minute details that are going to make or break you, your children, and your children's children for the next haul. I can't emphasize enough. Whoever gets into office, and we all have our opinions and we all have our positions on various things, but whoever gets into office is going to be guiding in the same way that he did when he let all these little creatures in to run our country. They're creatures, they're monsters. They sit there with grins on their face and say, haha, I can screw you, because right now there is absolutely no respect for the judicial system. There's no respect for the checks and balances. Not truly. There's no respect for anything that's legal in this country. All right? So they've all sat back, these little gremlins, these little monsters, and said, I'm in charge, and I'm hooking up my friends in high places, and we're all going to get a piece of the pie, and we're going to rip the United States of America off. I'm going to take every damn thing we want from the lower class, middle class, hard working class Americans, because we can, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. So now I want you to think about that attitude and the next set of players that's going to be in office in 2020, when we start the vote 2020. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Who's going to be making those decisions? Okay, are they aligned with the conservatives? Are they centrists? Are they liberals? Are they progressives? And what does that mean? What does that mean in terms of your protections? What does that mean in terms of the protections of our children? Again, I mean, we're cutting. We just keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and leaving human beings out in the cold all over the place. And the ones who suffer the most are, and will continue to be, the poorest on the lower end of the spectrum. the ones who have the least to begin with and are struggling to maintain on a day-to-day basis, trying to stay ahead, trying to push forward, trying to raise their children up to be good contributing members of society in spite of all the daily obstacles and challenges that they have to take. And now you have people saying, well, we're going to come into your neighborhood and we're going to shut down your elementary school right around the corner because we want to build a charter school for a couple of $1 million cool across town. And we don't know if your children's going to get into the school or not. You may have to get on a bus, have your child get on a bus at 6 o'clock in the morning and ride 40 minutes on the other side of the community. Or you may have to put your child on a bus in a neighborhood that's not safe, put them on a public school bus and send them out into, you know, the neighborhood and say, good luck getting to school on time. Now, these are parents who have 2, sometimes 3 jobs. All right, I want you to see the whole picture. There's so much more at stake. And for those families who are not in that situation, you're still being robbed. You're being robbed blind. So candidates matter. What they think matters. How they support communities of the hard knocks matters. Because if they don't give a damn about the people at the bottom, they sure in hell ain't giving a damn about you. They're only worrying about the people at the top. So on that note, I'm honoring my boy Al. I will continue because there was something he said. There was something that was said, his quote. This is Al's program. And there was a quote that was said that they said he would say all the time. And it said, one staple that will carry on, he would always say, the ground is no place for a champion to stay. Staying down is not an option. Get up, champ. His motivation for himself and for all. So get up, champs. Everybody get out there and be champs and fight the good fight. Fight the cause, do what's right, do what's best, and think about the whole, not just a piece of the whole. Because guess what? Your little small piece of the pie don't mean squat if the rest of the pie is going down, if the rest of the pie is falling apart, if the rest of the pie is getting eaten up and eaten up and eaten up and eaten up. Doesn't matter. You can't live in a bubble but so long. You can't live in a vacuum but so long. You can't live in this little space but so long, thinking that everything around you is not impacting or affecting your long-term well-being. Just keeping it real. So that said, have a wonderful day. I gotta go. I'm going to have the benefit, the wonderful benefit of seeing Dr. Carla Hayden this evening, Librarian of Congress, with my employee, Dr. Hewitt. I had the blessing and honor, as I mentioned once before, of seeing her when she was appointed the first female African-American Librarian of Congress a few years back. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience done in the Thomas Jefferson Library in DC. I loved it. It was fantastic, moving, powerful. And she's going to be in town tonight in the city talking for a little bit about, I think she's speaking with a book author. And of course, she will be sharing about the benefits of the Library of Congress and how we are in a position now to really access some really amazing information, which I have yet to take advantage of, truthfully. But she, because of her investment in making sure that our books were electronic and accessible online, and she has invested quite a bit of time in ebooks and e-research and online research and a way for us to access quite a bit of information that we would have not had access to otherwise. So kudos to Dr. Hayden. Kudos to my friend, my dear friend Al in heaven, and kudos to all of you guys out there who are in the ring, being champs, and for any of you all that are, you know, thinking about it. And thank you very much for your continued support. Al, I love you. And thank you for being my friend. Dad, I love you too. And I hope you guys talk because you definitely had a lot in common. You had a lot in common. Big, big, big hearts. Sylvia, you enjoy your day too. Take care. And I got to go. Thanks to everybody who showed up for me today. Love you, love you, love you. Hey, Rico, how you doing? How's the band life going? How's that piano life going down there in South Carolina? And I hope your family is well too. Vincent, how you? Oh, Pluck, hi baby, how you? I'm trying to say hi to everybody real quickly before I go. Pluck, Kelly, I love you and your jokes. You make my day with your jokes. Hey, cousin Paul in Bermuda, I really want to go. I was looking at the tickets to take a flight. I just don't know if I can do it before the wedding. But I hope you can make it to the wedding. Gary, how you doing, sweetie? Madge, how you doing? Send hi to everybody out there, your family, the whole crew. Manera, I was watching you guys' video, your radio station, excellent. Phyllis, how you doing? Please say hi to Kevin for me. Alan, and anybody else that I missed. I love you guys and appreciate you all. Talk to you soon. Peace.